name is Tom Slavens. I was married to the same woman for 62 years. I was extremely fond of my wife. She was the finest person I ever knew, and I loved her more than any person I ever knew. I did not know her. In fact, I'd never seen her before. But we were both taking piano lessons. My piano had a broken key. It was right next door to hers. And the hours that we were assigned to our practice rooms were posted, of course. And I didn't like that piano with the broken key, so I'd go in there, and the first thing she ever said to me was, "Is this your hour?" Of course, she knew it wasn't. And I got my books and went back to my room. But I continued to do that. So this was a very religious school. I was going with the registrar's daughter at that time, and she was teaching the class. And the subject was Christian dating. Oh my, was she strict. She said, Christian young people do not French kiss. They do not touch. They do not pet. I didn't even know what petting was. Not sure I do know. But anyway, I had enough of this, and this was a dry state. There was not allowed even to sell beer in Oklahoma at that time. And so I turned around, and this little girl that I married was seated behind me, and I said, "Let's get out of here and go get some beer." And she said, "Let's go." And then she smiled, and that was the first time she ever smiled at me. So that afternoon I called and asked her if she'd like to go out to dinner with me, and she said yes. The college was very strict. The girls had to be in by 8 o'clock, and on weekends 10 o'clock. And if a girl went out of town without a written permission from her parents, she was expelled from the college. I had a small church that I was the student minister of, and I asked the woman who became my wife if she'd like to go up and hear me preach. So she said, "Oh, I couldn't go out of town without a letter from my parents." And I said, "Oh, I'll get you back before 10 o'clock. And of course, the inevitable happened. The car broke down, and we didn't get back till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And she was really scared because she'd be expelled. And we stood out. They had a very nice dorm for the girls, and we stood outside there, and I threw pebbles up at the third floor where she lived, and the girls came to the door, and they were appalled that we were still out at that hour. And I said, "Tie some sheets together and let her crawl up the wall." They wouldn't do that, so finally she just went to the door and rang the bell, and the house mother came to the door, and she said, "We'll talk about this tomorrow." And it was never mentioned. Our wedding was really a lovely occasion. The total cost of the wedding was $180. That included her dress. And then the car wouldn't start. So I was sitting there with my bride, and we were trying to go away for our honeymoon, and the car wouldn't start. So I borrowed her dad's car, and we drove to Wichita, and we had a one-night honeymoon. We tried to disguise the fact that we were newlyweds. We had the car washed, and we discarded all the flowers and boutonnieres and that type of thing that we had on. And when we went in the hotel, everybody was smiling and waving at us. We thought we were being so cool, but when we got upstairs, we understood why they were waving at us. Our hair was filled with rice, so they knew what we were up to. took her 2 months to die. She had cancer in 3 parts of her body, and we had hospice, and we had a lot of tender moments during that period. I said to her one day, we had a lot of fun, didn't we? And she said, we sure did. And then initially she said, I'm ready to die. I've lived a full life, and I'm ready to go. But as the weeks went on, she said later, I don't want to die. I don't want to leave you. And I said, well, I'm 85 years old, and in a short time I'll be with you. I tried living in our house, and I got quite lonely. There's an old saying, if you laugh, you'll have lots of friends. If you cry, you'll cry alone. So I try not to burden other people with my sadness at losing my wife, but it was very difficult. It was like losing half of myself. So after a year of that, I decided to move into Glacier Hills. I've been very happy. I miss my life less now after over a year. I try to live in the now. The idea is a simple one, but very useful. Don't live in the past. You can't change that, and don't live too much in the future, because you really can't change that much. But live for the moment and enjoy what you're doing right now.